Hi, how are you? I'm Jerry Nicklow with Huff Insurance with Real Insurance Talk. And I'm going to go over one of our blogs we have out there. I'm going to go over it in detail and do a nice video here. Got something off screen, so if you see me looking off screen, I got some notes. But it's about real life situations or life-changing events that should trigger an insurance review. There are things that happen in our lives that should have us thinking, hey, let me review my insurance to make sure everything's still up to par. So I'm going to go over a few of those right now. First one is obvious. You moved. If you move from one house to another, one city to another, a couple things you got to do. Of course, if you got renter's insurance, you need to, if you're renting, you need to let your agent know to change the address of the rental policy, and they're going to need to know the construction type of the new building you're moving in, and address, and so forth. If it's if you have a homeowner's and you're moving out and you're buying a new home, you need to get a new homeowner's policy on that new home. If you're renting your current home and not selling it, you need to change it from a homeowner's policy to a dwelling fire policy to cover you for renting it out to some renters. And if you are doing that, make sure those renters also get renter's insurance. So, and you also want to think, if you're moving into a higher value area, you might want to get an umbrella. It's a good time to think about getting an umbrella. Now, the other one's kind of, if you get married, of course, you need to review your insurance. A couple things happen. Other cars, your spouse is going to have their car and their insurance. You're going to have your car and your insurance. It's best to combine them on the one policy because you get multi-car discounts. And there's also automatic coverages for having all the vehicles with a single company. So talk to your insurance agent and see what's best as far as combining those policies. You might want to get life insurance. If you get married, you're now responsible. Two lives are responsible for each other. So you want to make sure that if one of your incomes is gone, that the other one can survive without being forced to sell the house or forced to, as my father-in-law used to say, forced to meet somebody else and get married so they can have another income. So you want to be able to make sure they'll be able to take care of themselves, especially if there's kids involved. And you want to make sure that if they're bringing in assets to the house, if you got a renter's policy, that you make sure your contents coverage gets adjusted because, two people's contents are worth more than one. So make sure you talk to your insurance agent about the home or renter's policy and also about getting the life insurance policy. Now, the other thing is the opposite. You're getting separated or divorced. That's definitely a conversation you need to have because just because a spouse moves out does not mean you can automatically take them off the insurance policy. If they still own the title of the car or the title of the house, they need to be on that insurance policy, and it just can't be left alone because they're no longer a resident relative, so they're no longer an automatic insured on the policy. So the spouse that moves out, you may have to add them as an additional named insured, so they have the insured rights and responsibilities on the policy for the policy to defend them should there be a lawsuit. So there's things to think about for your auto insurance and your home insurance should you get separated or divorced. Also, if you're getting divorced, sometimes if there's kids involved, there could be a life insurance issue. Some people, some of the moms or dads who have control of the kids require the other spouse to get a life policy to cover at least till the kids turn 21 or 22 till they get out of school. So think about that as well if you need a life policy. So there's things to think about when you get divorced as well and so forth. So it's not just automatic to take the other person off. So if you're buying or selling a house, that's another item that you need to think about. If you're buying a home, of course, you need to get homeowners insurance. You might want to think about getting life insurance to cover the mortgage, and of course, you might want to get an umbrella because you have more assets for somebody to go after if you're in an accident. If you're selling or downsizing, you still want to review your insurance. If you're downsizing your house, from a $700,000 house to a $300,000 house, then your personal property is going to automatically get reduced on the new policy because it's based on coverage A. But it's still something you want to talk to your insurance agent about and make sure all your coverage is right. And another life-changing event, having a baby, getting pregnant, starting your family. So when this one, life insurance is definitely something you want to think about. If something happens to one of the parents, and if you're dual income parents like most of us are, you're relying on both of those incomes. And even if you're not dual income and you got a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, if something happens either to the income earner or to the stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad. There's going to be extra expenses being paid, so you're going to have to cover that. Because just think about it, if you've got a stay-at-home dad, you're not paying daycare. But if something happens to the dad, guess what? You now got to pay daycare and childcare, and that can get very expensive these days. So life insurance is a must if you got children either on the way or here. So think about that. And also think about getting life insurance on your kids when they're eligible to ensure their insurability. That way, if they ever get diagnosed with something when they're older, they already have a policy that's in force that they can either add to or keep in force. You also want to think about the health insurance. If you got employer insurance, great. If not, you want to make sure you find the right plan that's going to help you, because in the first 6-7 years of the baby's life or the child's life, there's a lot of doctor's visits that's going to have to be made, a lot of vaccines, a lot of doctor visits, a lot of preventive care, a lot of sick care as they get exposed to other children. So you're going to want to make sure your health insurance is up to par and you're not paying a fortune, not just for the premium, but a fortune after the fact, out of pocket to cover claims and all. And start thinking about a financial planner. We don't do that here, but we do know some that can help you with college savings and stuff. We can refer you out to somebody that can walk you through that. Another thing, you get a big promotion. That's another life-changing event. So you get a big promotion, you got a higher profile position. People know you're making more money, so you become more attractive for lawsuits. So it's a great time if you get a big promotion to review your insurance. And if you had $1 million liability policy before you got the big job or big promotion, think about increasing that to 2, 3, 5, because the more prominent you become and the more money you're perceived to be making, the bigger target you're going to be for lawsuits should something unfortunate happen to you. So if you're self-employed or own a business, you definitely want to make sure you're covering your bases, make sure you have your liability protection, make sure you have your forming your businesses in a way to protect your personal assets. You can do that with attorneys and business types, and you can do it with insurance. If you buy high value items, if you got jewelry, when you first get married, for like me and my wife, we had a $500 wedding ring for me, and I probably had a like $800 ring for her, and that wasn't a lot. But now that we're older, we afford her nicer stuff, and plus with the price of gold, that $500 ring is probably worth about $2,000. But we got better watches now, so we got to make sure we're scheduling those and having the right coverage on our homeowners insurance policy. So as you buy better things, you want to make sure you have the right coverage to protect yourself should something happen to those things. If you sell something, make sure you call your agent. If I get rid of this watch, I'm definitely going to have to call my wife, and tell her to delete the watch, because I don't want to pay for insurance for something I don't have anymore. If you're going to invest in rental property, it's something you need to definitely talk to your insurance agent about to see what kind of policy you need for that rental property. If it's a multifamily, it's different than if it's a single family. If it's a commercial business building, it's different than if it's a personal building. If you're going to do renovations on it, there might have to be some vacant construction or builder's risk up front. There's a whole lot that goes into it when you're buying an investment property. It's not just as simple as I'm going to buy insurance and go at it. It depends on a lot of factors. So talk to your insurance agent. They'll be able to walk you through what you need at the time you're buying it and at the time you're going to be renting it out. And if you're going to buy properties, make sure you got an umbrella policy on it. Because again, if you're a landlord, people know you own property, you become a bigger target for lawsuits. And I don't know if you've heard on the news, lawsuits are not getting smaller. They're getting bigger. So an umbrella policy is extremely important to have as you get older and start building wealth and accumulate assets. Major changes in your family's health. Life's full of unexpected things, and things happen. If you're caring for an aging parent moves back into the house and you got to care for them, there are insurance implications. It's best to talk to your insurance agent. If they're moving back in and they're still able to drive, you're going to have to list them on your auto policy. That's a big thing. Helicopter parents, helicopter kids, if they come back to the house, you need to make sure you're listing them on your home policy. And if they're bringing assets over, make sure your personal property's enough. They're putting stuff in storage, make sure they got enough coverage on them. Sometimes I've even seen kids moving back home putting stuff in storage, getting their own renter's policy, even though technically they're insured by definition. But if they got enough stuff in storage, they might want to get their own renter's policy to cover their items in storage and not have it go on the parent's policy. Plus, if something happens with personal liability, you don't want your parents to lose their home insurance. So having your own layer of insurance first is probably best. It's not that expensive. So yeah, if you got a kid moving back home, if you got a parent moving back home, you definitely want to talk to your insurance agent. On the flip side, if you got a parent that's leaving their home going into a nursing home, you want to have that conversation if their house is now unoccupied, because there become certain conditions. Plus the stuff your mom or your dad's taken to that nursing home, you may have to get a renter's policy or add an endorsement on the home policy to cover their items and liability at that, basically a secondary residence at the nursing home. So anytime anything like that happens, you're going to want to talk to your insurance agent. So, and essentially, you want to review your insurance pretty much every year. If you haven't done it in the last year, 2, or even 3, take time to reach out to your insurance agent and talk about things. Talk about your life changes. Talk about what's going on. Talk about the market. I don't know if you've noticed, the market has changed a lot since COVID, since 2020. So just talk about things, and most agents are going to be open to talking to you. We're open to talk to our clients and discuss everything about the market. We don't hide anything. So when a client calls us and they want to call about pricing, we go into the details. We just don't say, hey, rates going up for everybody, got to deal with it. We try to dig in and talk about the economic factors and the inflationary numbers and increased wages, which causes labor to go up, which causes houses to cost more to build. So and talk about the reserve factors that companies use. And since they were paying more claims, they had to increase their reserves. And a lot of things go into rate changes. It's not just everybody's doing it. It's just, getting an understanding. Reinsurance. Insurance companies are insured. And with the wildfires out west, might not have affected Maryland directly, but it affected the insurance companies' reinsurance prices, because the reinsurance companies had to raise their rates because they were paying out claims out west and in the south with all the hurricane activity. So there's a lot that goes on that your insurance agent can discuss with you. So if you're ready to talk about your insurance, please give us a call or give your agent a call and have that conversation. Just don't get mad when you open a bill and say, God darn it, my rate went up again. These guys are a bunch of crooks. I see it every day on Facebook, Reddit, TikTok. Yeah, we're on TikTok now. If you haven't seen us, go follow us. We're under Huff Insurance or Real Insurance Talk. And people are blaming the insurance companies and they're calling it legal scams and stuff like that. And I don't take it personal, because I'm proud to be an insurance agent. And I know when somebody's life's in turmoil and turned upside down, we're the ones that are going to be there to help them get through it and help them rebuild their lives from scratch. So we've seen house fires taking things to the ground. We've seen businesses, again, get destroyed. And we've walked people through the rebuild process, and that's what we're here for. But you want to make sure your coverage is right before that disaster happens, and that's what these conversations are for. As your life changes, as you accumulate assets and wealth, you want to make sure you're doing regular reviews of your insurance to make sure that you have everything you're going to need at the time you're going to need it. And the last thing I want to do is you come to me and want to report a claim, and I don't want to look at you and say, I'm sorry, that's not covered. I want to make sure we at least had that discussion. And if it's not covered, I want you to understand that you probably knew it up front, because we had that conversation before you got the policy, and it's not a surprise. And a lot of times people come to us and say, I know we talked about this and it's probably not covered, but can you check? And we do. And sometimes we're able to find some coverage, and sometimes we're able to say, you're right, we had this conversation, you chose not to go this way and took the risk. And they know they took the risk, and they were just confirming that there was no changes and all that could find coverage. So again, as your life changes, it's definitely worth checking out your insurance coverage, having that conversation with your insurance professional. Hopefully you're using a local agent, whether it's us or another agent, even if it, State Farm, Allstate, a local agent. That way you can sit in front of them, they can look in the eye and tell you what you got, and you're not calling who knows where when you call to get customer service. So this is Jerry Nicklow with Real Insurance Talk with Huff Insurance. I hope this information was found to be helpful. If you have any questions on anything we've gone over today or anything else, please feel free to reach out to me or Nancy, or anybody on our team. We educate our team, so anybody should be able to help you out. If they don't know, they'll know where to go to get you the answer. So again, Jerry Nicklow, Real Insurance Talk with Huff Insurance. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and we look forward to talking to you.